Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us here to cover some hopefully fun and interesting procurement topics. And all of you are probably better experts than JD and I are. You guys could probably be training this course. Anyhow, what we're going to cover today is, some of this might be, you guys have already covered it, but I don't know, we might have different levels of experience on this call. But my goal today is to kind of cover a baseline so that we're all on the same page and kind of give you pointers of certain areas of what to include while you're doing certain processes with Voyager. Following the agenda that was sent out on the invite, we're going to cover the requisitions and some important points there. Also, we're going to cover receipting and PO lifecycle, which I think most of campus, that might be a new thing, or and it's some valuable information there as far as did vendors get paid, when they got paid. So that'll help you guys reply to your vendors and not have to wait on accounts payable to get back to you on that. And then lastly, some issues with how to set up, how to look up for vendors, and if they're not in the system, what you guys can do to facilitate them getting registered with us through Voyager. And then we'll open up the, after that's covered, we'll just open it up. We'll open up the floor for Q&A, and we can try to address anything that was covered or any other questions that you have that's not related to this training, or any recommendations for future training, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you all can see my screen there. Your dashboard will probably be less populated than mine. They gave me access to a bunch of stuff, so. But primarily we're going to be working with the shopping cart, your purchase requisitions. And so down here, obviously you have your different smart forms, they call them, depending on what is it that you're buying or the service that you're buying. So you have your punch outs, which are kind of automated and kind of on its own. And then you have your food purchases, and today we're going to be focusing on our general request forms. So I guess again, depending on what you're ordering, there's like a smart form that kind of caters to each type of product or service that you're buying. Two that I will make note of is, if none of these apply, usually you're going to be doing like a non-catalog form, which is quantity based, or if you're doing like a blanket PO or something that is dollar amount based, then you'll be using the services smart form. But for today's example, we'll just go into the non-catalog form. And I'm just going to focus on certain areas of interest. I'm not going to go over everything. And of course, the areas that are marked required obviously need to be populated. So the first box is the description of the item that you're buying. And what I would recommend there is, putting something that's informative to you, so when you go back in the future, you're able to find it. Category, I do highly recommend that you guys use the category that's indicative of what you're ordering, and not use miscellaneous. like I guess let's say we're buying some appliances. So that helps us to be able to run reports as a campus and be able to see what products we're having our majority of our spend on. And then that way we can go out as a procurement team and try to negotiate or bid out these services to get better pricing. So that if we don't have this information, if everything's thrown into miscellaneous, then it's very difficult for us to know, how to accomplish that task. Again, this is quantity based, so you have to make sure that you're putting in the right amount. Otherwise, when you do the receiving, that'll be an issue. For example, if you're ordering 12 items, but you only put one, and then the total price of your order, then when you go to receive it and you only get 6, then that becomes a problem. Then you have to start receiving like a fraction of one, which that gets complicated. So if you're ordering 12, just go ahead and put 12. We'll do price. Under supplier source, do not select new supplier. So if you don't find your supplier here, if you don't find your supplier, we've gotten some requisitions where because it allows you guys to click on this and then populate it. But we're going to have to reject that because they actually need to be in our system as a vendor. So we're working with IT to be able to remove that. In this case, so obviously if you find your vendor, you go ahead and put that in there. And then your site is going to always be, if you're doing a requisition, it's going to be the PUR. I think, yeah, so this is eventually going to get removed, check request. So you always want to make sure you have a PUR for your supplier site. And some of you are ordering scientific information, or the vendors like really need like an item number, then I would recommend putting that in this section here. And then notes to supplier. Again, I recommend if they send you a quote, I would reference the quote number saying per quote and spell. Per quote, and 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. And then you can attach that quote as an internal reference for us. It will not be sent to the vendor, but by you referencing that, then they can reference that quote that they generated on their system. If you attach a quote and that they need it back and signed, then that's going to cause a delay, and we're going to have to send that over to legal. So, so if you can clarify that at the onset, then that'll be good. So if they do need it returned, then you would say the quote attached to supplier. And again, if it needs to be signed, then we need to forward that over to legal. Otherwise, you can attach it as a reference, as an internal reference only, and we won't sign it. We would just send them our quote, which with our attached terms and conditions. And by them accepting our purchase order and fulfilling the order, they're agreeing to our terms and conditions. And once you've had that populated, then you go to add that to your cart, and you can go view it. And then here's where you make any changes to the index if you need to do that. If that's not correct. And so the little pencil is your ability to edit. And then you have another area here where is delivery and billing details. Anything you have to change on that. One thing I want to make sure is that you have your correct delivery to, which is usually your department and then dash central receiving. We try to catch that on our back end of procurement, but it's helpful if everything's done completely. And here down below in distributions, if you need to change whatever distribution, then you can click on these three dots and it allows you to split it between distribution lines, or you can click edit and then you can override what's defaulting there on your screen. I'm going to make sure I covered everything, I think. Oh, one, for those of you, for vendors that are using Gmail, right now, those POs are not, so when we process a PO, and if there's information in the system to send out the email, it'll go out as electronically to the vendor. So the vendor should be getting a copy, and the requisition, or the person who entered the rec, also gets a copy. But vendors that have Gmail in their profile right now, they are not receiving those POs. So Oracle is working on a fix. I understand it's in testing, so hopefully that'll be resolved by the beginning of the year, and that won't be an issue. But in the interim, I would just make sure that your vendor has the PO, especially if if they're using like a Gmail type account. Oh, and also another note, which is kind of a separate topic. If check requests, if done properly, there's like a section where you have to turn on special handling. And granted, I'm not an expert because I don't do check requests, but I'm just letting you know from our end what we see. So after you do a check request and say you do it correctly and you turn on special handling, you do your check request, that needs to be turned off before you go to, say, you're going to process a requisition. Because if you do a requisition and you have your special handling turned on, that requisition, after it's released, it's going to go to AP and not to us, and then they have to reject it. So, but that's a different training, a different discussion. But that's just a little caveat. I don't know, Jada, our senior buyer, is on the call today. I don't know, Jada, if you have any comments you want to add regarding this section of requisitions.
No, I think you covered everything on that. The only thing I would add is if you do have a attachment that you would like to go to the vendor, you can choose supplier or miscellaneous. Either one of those will work. I know when we first started, not all of those options worked, but miscellaneous and to supplier will both send them to the vendor.
Okay. So with no further ado, we'll move over to the second topic, which is how to do receiving. So to get back to your main screen, you can hit this little diamond that looks like home plate. There's different ways to get there. You can use this 3 bars and it gives you a drop down. You can go that way too. So you all should have a little icon that says My Receipts. So the PO gets issued, you get a copy, the vendor gets it, they place the order, and hopefully you receive your order promptly. So once you get it, you have to get into the habit of receiving it. Because if you don't receive it, then it causes issues with AP regarding being able to pay it, because a lot of times they'll get the invoice faster than you even get the product, especially if you're using a punch out. And a lot of that punch out orders are automated. So, I mean, that invoice will be generated usually that night or the next day. Like I said, the product hasn't arrived yet. And so the system's trying to match it. And then if it's not received, it goes to a default status and they have to go manually rectify that. But as soon as you get your product, if you can go in there and receive it, then they're able to match it up and get it paid. So you all, for your orders would be usually under My Receipts. but I don't, Jada and I, we don't really do requisitions, but you could do your receiving from either one of these options down below, orders to receive or my receipts. So I do have one example I will share, and then Jada can go over another one. So my example, you would put in your purchase order number in the search bar. And then it'll pull up the EPO. You just verify that the information is correct for the item and product you want to receive. You would click on this little box, and then it gives you this receive with details. You click on that, and then you would put in the amount that the amount that you're receiving. There we go. So in this case, it's what I need to finish receiving on is to match the remaining, the exact amount that's left there. And then, oops, put my finger too much, not 100,000, 101,000, too much. There we go. So once you're done with that, tab over, and then I guess best practice, you can put in a packing slip, or some people put invoices just to have documentation. And then basically once you do that, you would just click submit, and you're done. One thing to note though, if you add an invoice, AP doesn't see that invoice. So if you receive the invoice from the vendor, after you do your receiving, forward that over to the ETSU AP email. I think it's ETSU AP at etsu.edu. And then that way they can, make sure they have the invoice and get that processed. Because usually the vendor will either send you the invoice, or they'll send AP the invoice, or they'll send both of you guys the invoice. So I guess the key thing is just to have that communication with them. If, after 2 or 3 weeks, if your item is not showing that it was paid, or the vendor saying they haven't gotten paid, then I would open up that communication with them and let them know it's been received, and give them the invoice number if you have it, and that way AP can look into that. And this is a live one, so I'm going to go ahead and submit it and do the receiving. Let's see some other notes that I want to talk about. No, I think that's pretty much it. Jada, did you have one that you wanted to share? I'll go ahead and stop sharing and you can show them.
Yeah, I can show one.
Great, thank you.
If it'll let me.
We have our IT expert, Drew. Well, hopefully it will. If not, then that's fine. I can do another one.
It's going to make me quit the system.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, so let me go ahead and share mine. So just for kicks, I'll just do another one real quick for you all who are just to drive the point home. So again, you put your PO number in the search bar. Make sure you verify that this is the vendor you want to pay. Click receive with details. So a lot of you might be getting emails from AP saying, hey, and they may be sending you a list, an Excel list of a bunch of POs that need to be received on. So this is how you do it. You type in that PO. Obviously, you're not going to receive on it if you didn't get the product. That's the whole other issue. But if you received this product or services, then doing this receiving is telling AP that it's okay to make the payment. So you type it in and it pulls it up. In this case, I'm going to receive the full amount of the balance. Okay, that's an interesting one. Yeah, okay, well, I guess this one's not gonna work. It's giving me an issue, so, all right. I'll have to go back on that one. I was interested on, let's see if it's okay now. No? With the date? On or before 12/25, it is. All right. I had to do something with the receiving day. Anyways, I put that I received it yesterday and it went through. So, okay. And again, if you have an invoice, you go ahead and drop it in there as an attachment, and then you click submit, and then you're done. Okay, so now it's to the fun stuff. PO life cycle. So we'll click on the home page. And then the way for you all to access this is going to go through your shopping cart. So click on your shopping cart and you go to my requisitions. And it'll show you a list of all your stuff. What you're going to look for is anything that's in green. Find one. There we go. So here's one. So and this is kind of recent, so it's probably not going to have much of a life cycle, but I just wanted to show you. This is an Amazon order. So when you see this hyperlink of the EPO, so if it's in green, it's going to be different status, like ordered, delivered. And you can click on the link of the EPO. And so it's going to take you to your purchase order. And see here, order life cycle. You click on that. So right now there's not much activity because this was done yesterday, so it was ordered. But when this order arrives, then you'll have delivered or fulfilled, and then you'll have invoiced. So when you get your shipment and you receive it, you'll have information down below here. And then when you have invoice information, it'll be there. Let me try to find one that is hold on. Bear with me, sorry. Because I think we do a lot of requisitions. We're still in December. I've been dragging down. Hold on one second. I'm just going to try to find out. Here we go. I got something delivered. All right, here's a good one. Let's see what we got here. Actually says it's been closed. Let's see what happens. See what they show us with the life cycle. Okay, yeah. So here's a complete one because it's closed. So that means it went through the whole cycle. So it was ordered, and you can see that it was delivered or fulfilled, and then they got the invoice. So here's the receipts. So when you go, you get your item, your receipt on it, and then it'll show up here. There's that receipt number. Usually if you click on that, it might have like the information, it might have an attachment. But the good stuff is the invoicing. So if you're wondering if a vendor got paid or not, you can get to this life cycle the way I'm showing you here, and it'll show if the invoice has been, this is showing unpaid. So you click on this and the invoice just arrived yesterday. So it might get paid this week. And you click on payments. So there's no payments yet, but if you could probably follow up on this next week, it'll probably show a payment. So hopefully that's useful for you. So you can go ahead and do that for the requisitions that you generate, and you can go ahead and get a status on those items. Jada, do you have anything you want to add in this section?
Yeah. Can you go back to where you find your requisitions, please?
Yes. I'm gonna have to go back from the beginning. All right, I'm having issues here. Oh yeah, there we go.
I say, do you care to just look up a Canon one?
Yes, no problem. Do you have I just type in Canon.
Yeah, say if you take that off and go back to filters, it should allow you to look up a supplier.
All right, here we go, Canon ones.
Yeah, there should be one right there. The 13682.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You open
All
that,
right.
please.
Click on that one. All right.
Please. And then will you show them the view document history at the very top?
Okay, upper right-hand corner.
So this can be used for any requisition. So if your rec hasn't been approved by us yet, you can still look at it and you can hit the view document history and it will show you exactly where it's at and what time it's there. So in eBooks on the far right side, this is the same information that was on the far right side. You can track where it's at the entire time until it gets through procurement approval. I've had a few people reach out about how to see this, and it's always in that view document lifecycle on your requisition number.
Okay. So let me go back. So Canon. So this could be even if it hasn't been processed and completed by procurement yet.
Correct. If it's just still in a requisition phase, you can still see exactly where it's at and what time it's been there. Same as in eBooks, it's just moved to a different place on the screen now.
Let me try to like these pending ones. I can get. All right. So I can like click. Well, there's a check request, but
It's okay. As long as you go to the right and click on the three dots, you can still view it.
oh yeah, right here. Okay.
That
Well,
one
that
might
one's
not work.
draft.
It's a draft. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Try this one.
And then view document
View
history.
document history. All right. Or view approvers or no?
No, do view document history.
All right.
So you can see submitted by and who it's gone to next.
All right. Yeah. So it's just submitted. So it really hasn't. Yeah, it really hasn't gone far. But
No. But that's one way you can look at it to see where your requisition's sitting at. If it's been out there for a few days and it's not been approved, that can tell you where it's at.
yeah. And there's also so these three dots down here. Also view approvers and document history. View approvers gets like right here, the person submitted it, and now it's in their internal department approval with this at this level. So and then you can tell because if it's in procurement, it'll say it's a group. I think it's like ETSU procurement or something. So yeah, so that's useful for the campus to know. Okay, and lastly is a vendor setup. And we're basically in the same section here to discuss that, but I'm gonna go ahead and start from scratch from the beginning. Okay, here we go. So vendor setup. Right now, I think the campus is going to, they go to like requisitions, like they're gonna make a smart form and then they do their search under the supplier. And then they look for their vendor here. Um, they do Thomas Painting. So it's not there. Or they'll do, well, that pulls it up, so it's there. So that's one way of doing your search. Go back. Or at this level, you can try to do your search here. So here, if it's in the system, it'll pull up. So that means they're in the system. I'd already done Best Buy. So yeah, so that's one way. Then so that's like off your shopping cart, and then at the search bar up top. And this is like 90% accurate because it's all based off of how the vendor is registered with us. A lot of companies have DBAs. So you might know them as a DBA, but their legal entity name is different. That's how it's registered. For example, Food City. It will not pull up. If it's in black, it has to be highlighted in black to be registered because they're registered with us as KVAT. Oh, that's not looking. Hold on. And it's very particular. Like if you don't have everything exactly the way they're registered, it won't show up. Here's another option. Oh, it's not that one. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, it's finicky. Hold on 1 second. There you go. So here under my requisitions in the search bar, you start to type it in and it pulls it up. So, like I said, doing this, if you have a correct match, like if the way they're registered is the way they do business, then it'll work for you. But a lot of times it will not work if you have like a sole proprietorship who's they're registered under their legal name, but then their business name is, Thomas Painting or so and so Landscaping, and you know them by that name, so it'll be difficult. But um, that's just another way of not having to go into the smart form and going into the supplier section. But anyhow, so if they're not in the system, then what I wanted to share with you is where to direct your vendors to go to. Hold on 1 second. So I would have them go to. Sorry, my bad. I'm trying to get to the internet here. All right. So on the ETSU website, just have them go to the ETSU website. The easiest way is in the upper right-hand corner of the search function. Have them type in non-employee direct deposit. And on this page, under companies and individuals, they would click on this link, supplier registration. This is a link to our Oracle Voyager ERP. And when they click on that, then they will initiate their self-registration and they start off with their email. And then it does a security validation where they get a code, they type it in, and then it opens up the portal and they start to enter their information. But the important thing is that they come prepared, so they're basically going to need their W-9 completed and their bank ACH information. If they're able to attach that information, then once they've done that part, it's in pending status. And then Madison Profrock, she works on this on the back end, all day long. And she will validate them, make sure the information is correct. We have what we need, especially the banking info. And then she moves them to spend authorized. And then you guys are able to find them in the requisition part of it and as a vendor and to complete your PO or your requisition. And I think, let me see. I'm just looking real quick to see I covered everything. Yeah, I think that's it. Jada, do you have anything you want to add regarding the supplier registration?
I do not.
Okay. All right, well, I guess now we'll just open it up to Q&A, and anybody has any questions regarding the training or anything regarding procurement, feel free to raise your hand and we'll go from there.
All right, Nancy, the floor is yours. I've allowed your mic. You'll have to unmute.
Check requests. Let's see. Yeah.
Hey, Alex,
Yes, Jada.
let me see. I'm gonna say I can walk them through it if you want to. If you'll move your mouse, I can walk them through it because I don't know why
Sure,
my
that's
Teams isn't
fine.
letting me share my screen.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I'll check. Go ahead. I'm here.
So for check request, you go back like you're doing a regular requisition under procurement and your purchase recs. This is where the first step is the most important when you're doing a check request or a personal services form. You have to go to the three dots at the top beside your preferences and then create special handling request. And then if you're just doing a check request, you leave the top at the top alone, and at the bottom you hit create. And then you'll see beside your self-service procurement at the very top, you will see the blue special handling request label. That is how you know that it's activated.
Okay.
And then from here, you scroll down towards the bottom and you do the check request section, and then you complete it as normal. So the check request form by itself, there's nothing changed on it, but you have to enable that special handling first. And then we can go into the check request. And this one is just like requisitions. It's going to ask you what it's for, how much money, who it, like the supplier, all that information is the exact same as the requisition. The only thing with this that is a little different is it's going to ask if the invoice is attached because they do require the invoice to pay the check request because they have to match the totals to make sure it's properly the same amounts. And it says check request invoice number. I have talked to AP. If it has an invoice number, that's phenomenal. But if it's something that doesn't have an invoice number, if you can just put in there like holiday lights being put up November 2025, something that just explains what it's for. Does that answer everything you needed, or is there more to it that you
No,
have?
you also, I see that attached, if you're doing a personal services one,
Mm-hmm.
looks like you still have to do the old personal services form.
You do this personal services form.
Not, there's a place where personal services is attached at the bottom of where you just were. Unless I've been in the wrong place. Yeah, that it's not at the bottom. Am I supposed to be filling that out?
Yes, that is the independent contractor versus employer form.
Okay.
So when you fill out a personal services form, this needs to be filled out so that it shows that it's not the employee's like if we're paying an employee, this is going to show that it's not part of their job description. That's all this does.
Well, and there is no place to put in the string of numbers that we now have for accounts. The space for putting in chart index account is still the really small space. So where are we supposed to put in the Voyager number?
Well, I think, wouldn't that be, it's already, hold on. When it's in this part of the distribution, and it's already built in this part, right, Jada? Like, once you go to the cart, it's already pre-populated with your index. You would have it there, almost like you do it with a requisition.
Yes,
Where
Um,
are you saying that pre-populate? Because I have not seen it populate anywhere.
Let me see. Let me see if it lets me add it to the cart. Might not. Let me fill in some information because I might not. Oh, it's got stuff in there. Okay, I'm trying to do the required fields. Data supplier. Hmm. Let me see if it lets me add it to the cart. Yeah, I see. It pre-populated with your index. So you really don't have to worry about putting in that index on that form. That form is just more about the other stuff of.
How does it know what index I want to pull from?
No, well, it's gonna go by based on user and their department they're assigned to. So then if you need to edit this, just like your Rex, it's always populated by your department. It's like I think like the last this section here, 24200 is what tells you right here, procurement. So in this case, it would be your organization, whatever department or college you're at.
Well,
And
we
it goes
have a
down.
couple different indexes that we pull from, whether we're pulling from course fees or we're pulling from,
So to edit that, you would click the pencil
okay.
and then go up top here. It says billing and delivery and billing detail. And then you would scroll down to the bottom here where it says billing. And then here with your three dots, you would edit the distribution. And it allows you to override
Okay.
and
Okay.
change all this. Yeah, and then you would just update it and then it'll save it.
So I have to submit it before I can see that it's get to that line to be able to.
No, because once it's in your cart, you have an ability to look at everything before you submit it.
Okay.
This is right here. I'm in the cart section. Yeah, so you have to like do the first stage and then well, let me go back. I guess you do have to submit it to your cart, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then in your cart you can do the edits of your distribution and so forth.
So when you hit submit, it's not submitting it to accounts payable, it's submitting it to the cart.
Yeah, so the step before this, I don't remember what it was. I think it was add to cart. Is that what the terminology was? I can't remember.
Yes.
So there's like a two step. So there's the first screen where you populate everything. I think it's like add to cart. and then view card. So that's what we're at now. We're viewing the card.
Okay,
And then you do your changes to your code, like I showed, clicking on your pencil, you review everything. And then, yeah, then I guess the last step is submit. Once you hit submit, that's it, it's gone.
okay.
It leaves your queue.
I have,
So
I have one other
yeah.
question on the personal services under 5,000 form. There's a place for the E number of the supplier, but
Yeah.
I have one supplier that's registered as a nonprofit and it has a supplier number as opposed to an E number. Do I just put that in the same place?
Yeah, I would. If you have supplier number. Yeah, well, E number. Jada, do you have any commentary on that one?
So whenever you put the supplier in on the front, on the actual requisition, not the Excel sheet, it populates that supplier and everything. So this
Correct.
is just backup.
All
All
right,
the
so I don't
information is
need,
on the main screen.
so I don't need
Correct.
to fill in the banner ID number, the E number, if I have a supplier number instead of a banner number.
Correct, because when you put the supplier number, the supplier in on the actual page, it
Okay.
has all that information already in there.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Drew, looks like we have some other questions. I'll let you control that, Drew, please.
Absolutely. Takia, your mic can be unmuted now to ask your question. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
It's all right. It's Takaya.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have, it's kind of, it might be bizarre, but in one of my departments, we usually we used to compensate people through check requests, and sometimes that's easier than others. However, I have a situation where we had an instructor that was contracted. However, we received incorrect information on what her, like, essentially what her pay should be. So I'm trying to compensate her the rest of the money that should have been included in her contract, but that doesn't include an invoice. I don't have an invoice for that. So would it be allowed for me to write up a memo and attach the invoice explaining why she's being compensated and or paid? And like, would that fly, or is there a different process that I need to go through?
Can I request that you send that to me and Alex in an email, just because there are multiple departments that have to communicate with that,
Okay.
where it has to do with the contract and everything. So
Uh-huh.
without being able to look at it, I really can't answer that at the moment. So if you don't care to just send that in the email, I will get back to you on that as soon as I have the answers.
Okay. And then would you want me to attach the contract as well?
That would be very helpful. Like I said, it's just going to take about 3 departments that have to communicate with that one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've emailed AP about it, but they didn't respond yet. And I'm like, maybe we should make this a team effort. And I'll ask you guys.
Yeah, just send that in an email, and once I can figure out exactly how they want that done, then I'll let you know for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, it looks like I don't see any other hands raised, so we got a couple more minutes. Well, I guess we must have done a good job of discussing what we're discussing, because we don't have any questions. But anyhow, I want to thank you for your time here, and hopefully this has been useful for you, and you've been able to glean some information that'll help you with your work functions using Voyager. And again, we're open to any future training topics that you need. And just feel free to email us, and then we'll get that scheduled in the upcoming dates. Well, thank you all very much, and you guys have a great holiday season if we don't speak to you before that. Thank you
Hey,
so
we
much.
got one more. Nancy,
Oh,
just
we got, all right. Yes.
one more. Nancy, go for it.
I don't have my hand up again,
Oh, looks like it.
unless it's a different Nancy.
Nancy Mast.
Nancy Mass. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it is a different answer.
Here I go. Thank you.
You're
I had asked a question earlier. Alex, you had mentioned when you were doing the requisition for the supplier site that you were removing the CR option, that we should just select the PUR option. But when we do check requests, we use the CR option. Is that going to still
Well,
remain on the check request on the special
yeah,
processing?
that's a good question. Yeah, well, what I meant by that is AP is working on revamping this whole check request process. So a part of that is the way you guys do it now will no longer be the way it's done. So I think it's gonna revert back more to the way it was with eBucks, just kind of filling out some type of dynamics form or some kind of form. I don't know too much of the details, but I just know that's in the works. So that's what I mean by that. But for right now, everything is as normal. So it's not gonna go away like overnight. It'll be communicated from AP once it's ready to roll out. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
it does.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring up another topic, Alex, that we talked about a couple of months ago. Here at the Martin Center, we do advertising for, the shows that we have here. So we may advertise over, a 3-month period. So the purchase order, say, is put in for $3,000. And so, the TV station, invoices us monthly. So for the first month, I get an invoice for $1,000. So because the advertising option, when you put in those requisitions, it's quantity based versus cost based. And so
Yeah,
I've
we
been
did talk
putting
about that.
in, like the first month, I've been putting in a quantity of 0.333. So we've run into a few problems with that because it doesn't actually calculate to the exact penny of the invoice amount. So we've been running into problems with that. I don't know if you guys have been able to think of another solution. Is there a way to change that advertising requisition to where it's cost based instead of quantity?
Yeah, I do remember that topic, and yeah, I think it's a matter of finding out where the routing is from the advertising and maybe, yeah, we're still in discussions with IT regarding how to resolve that.
Yeah, I know we
Because I
talked
think,
about, switching it to doing the services, but I
yeah,
was very concerned that it wouldn't go through, the marketing communications people for approval like it's supposed to. So we've been still,
yeah,
doing it through the advertising option, but it would
yeah,
be
I
nice
would,
not to have to deal with those issues.
yeah, no, I think if you use, like, if you're using the services blanket PO, which is amount based, and you're charging it to the correct GL string, then it should route it through marketing the same way it would the advertising smart form. So and I don't know, Drew, are you versed on how that works? Can you confirm or deny uh, that? Or Jada, you have any comment on what I just said regarding using the index to route it to marketing versus using the actual smart form for advertising?
So if you use the services form and in your GL string and you make the account code, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but
I
there
think
are
it's
a handful of different account codes for marketing,
Advertising.
depending upon TV, billboard, whatever you
Yeah.
decide you need to use. It should automatically populate to go through marketing to get Jess Bawden's approval using that account code. That is how it is supposed to work.
Well,
So that
that's
is one
great
thing.
news. Yeah. Okay.
That's one
Well,
thing that I do check when it comes on my end is to make sure it went through proper approvals.
okay. Good to know.
So if, like I said, just make sure the account code is for marketing. And even once you submit it, I would give it about 30 to 60 seconds and you can go into the view approvers and it should have marketing as one of the approvers for that as soon as you submit it. So you should be able to check that too if you wanted to.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah. We'll test that out today
Yep.
or
And say
tomorrow.
excellent. Yeah, it should
And
work. In theory, I mean, it should work. So
Yeah, and then if you want to email me that rec number, I can go in there and look at it as well to make sure it's moving properly if you want me to.
Perfect.
All right.
Now I
think we
have
actually
raised
have a
my
motion
hand
to-
Now
again.
the other Nancy has a question.
Sorry, I realized I had another one. We were talking about approvals and I realized I had another follow-up. So on the payment requests for under $5,000 form that you do along with the Voyager form, do I still need to get my chair's signature for the approval on that form? Or is that something that's going to go through a different routing to get his approval?
You're talking about the personal services form that you fill out in Voyager, correct?
Yeah,
So you will not need to get a wet signature on that because it's going to route through Voyager.
okay. That's all I needed to know.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining us this morning, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.